The King of Fighters. Select member.
不知縫流の神髄受けてみろ
Oh my god. Andy, you're not ugly anymore. Congrats. I'm glad that you finally got over your affliction. You looked like a demented serial killer back in 12 and 13, then got a bad case of Tekken 2 when 14 rolled around. Well, now that you passed the eye test, let's see how the rest stacks up. This is Andy Bogard, younger brother of Terry and a practitioner of Shiranui Ryu Ninjutsu. You might recognize that name, and we'll get to the other ninja in the future. As you'd expect from a ninja, Andy is one of the fastest characters in KOF, possessing a faster run speed, higher jump, unique air movement option, and a special that thrusts him forward. This may sound like the ingredients for a pure rushdown character, but actually, Andy has a pretty balanced moveset otherwise. Lets him handle opponents of any type. Not to say you can't do some rushdown with him, he's got a lot of knockback on his moves that can take opponents from mid-screen to the corner in the blink of an eye, setting them up to get pressured and comboed. But Andy's problems start to arise when you try to cash in on that corner position. His normals are really lacking in range, making it easy to get outpoked and lose positioning. But even if you do get the opponent locked down with a solid block string, all of Andy's specials are negative as hell on block. I wouldn't point this out if his stuff was just, barely negative like most other specials in the game, but no, everything he has gives a big time advantage to the opponent just for blocking. But that aside, his projectile, speedy attacks, and the fact that he doesn't get that much of a damage boost from Burning Meter means that he is someone made for a team's point spot. Now his normals are speedy, so there's a positive. Oh, bless his heart, he's trying his best. But it becomes very apparent that he's getting outranged by most of the cast when it comes to pokes. If you're looking for his best, then that would be his far heavy punch. It isn't plus on block like his far light kick, but it has more range and enough pushback to keep you safe. Plus, it can be special cancelled. Oh, and speaking of light kick, it doesn't matter if it's near or far, it can be special cancelled too. It can even cancel into heavy kick. And speaking of heavy kick too, the jumping heavy is a good move for cross-ups. His first and only command normal that's an attack is Hirate Uchi, forward or back plus punch. This works as your standard combo filler when used to cancel a normal, but the raw version is this really slow punch. There's a reason for that, as this move gives Andy a window of upper body invincibility. Now, it is a brief window, so don't expect for this to be a great anti-air, but it is just enough to counter jumping attacks and projectiles if you got the right timing. If that was his only attack, then what does the other one do? Well, just press any downward direction and heavy kick in the air, and you'll see Gane Shiranui. This movement command causes Andy to start hurtling towards the ground. It doesn't stop the direction of the jump, but it still works well for baiting anti-airs and throwing off your opponent's defense. Do remember that despite this move saying it can be used in the air, it only works after doing a jump or hyper jump. It does not work with hops. The first special for little Bogard is Zane Ken, quarter circle forward and punch. This move has Andy zip across the floor to deliver an elbow strike. This move doubles as both an attack, obviously, and a nice little movement option. There's not too many recovery frames when this move whiffs, so as long as you don't get too predictable with this move, you can scoot around the stage with this. Light version has the fastest startup and the least recovery. Heavy is slightly slower but travels farther. Also, it can be cancelled into another special during the dash. The EX version has the same speed as the heavy, but hits way harder and causes a wall splat. Problem with this move, and this is something I'm going to be repeating for the other specials, is that it's very negative on block. Now, it does have enough pushback to keep you safe from almost anything, but at the very least you're going to have to block a poke or projectile that'll cost you position. Next, and the most eye-catching special is Kuhadan. done with a half circle forward and kick. This is yet another move that's both good for offense and movement. The light version travels the shortest distance and has the lowest arc. The heavy has more startup but travels further and goes higher, while the EX version gets a little more damage and goes even further and does it faster. Recommend that you use this either for getting over projectiles or as a combo ender. The move has great carry and will easily send your opponent to the corner in most cases. But oh dear, this special has the same negative on block addiction that the previous special had, and this one is even more severe. The pushback on this is not enough to save you from punishment. Also, you can just get hit out of the air. But if you don't want to go into the air, you can literally hit the brakes on this move by pressing both kick buttons right when Andy extends his legs. This can take quite a bit of practice to get used to, but once you can, it is a very useful move. It turns it into a little launcher that can then be followed up with something like his DP. It can also work as a deke for anyone looking to hit you out of the air, but even with the brake, yeah, it's still unsafe. Ah yes, that DP. Z-motion forward and punch gives you Shoryudan, the younger brother of Shoryuken. This and the last special are actually pretty basic moves if you're familiar with fighting games. It's got the invincibility on startup to make it his best anti-air. Well, at least the heavy version does, but the light version is faster. The heavy version is slower but hits more times. The EX version does even more hits, and Andy will die if this move whiffs or gets blocked. Nice as a combo ender or setup for a super or climax, as Andy's climax can be activated mid-air. Last special is his projectile, Hishoken, done with quarter circle back and punch. This is unsafe if used up close, and has few tricks, works like a standard issue projectile. The light goes slower while the heavy goes faster. If it hits an opponent in the air or crumpling, it can be used as a setup for a juggle. EX version is interesting though. This sends out a very slow projectile that eats up normal projectiles. Andy is actually fast enough to outrun this thing if thrown at full screen, which can cause some unique setups. Not too much to say about the supers either. First is Cho Reppadan, quarter circle back, then half circle forward kick. It's basically a beefed up version of Kuhadan. Only difference is that it causes a hard knockdown and does a bit more damage than the EX version. And you can say it with me now, this move is unsafe on block. Good combo ender though. One more move. Quarter circle forward, then half circle back plus punch. Zetsu Hishoken. Andy summons his EX projectile in front of him, then detonates it. Another good combo ender and a viable defensive tool. Come on Andy, tell me this is the one that breaks the habit. I believe in you. Well, we tried. Very mobile and capable of coming from multiple possible directions, Andy is a character that's very good at dictating the pace of a match. Uses increased movement capabilities along with Gene Shiranui and Zaneiken to both close in on your opponent and also fool them into making a mistake you can then capitalize on. Meter is not a necessity when it comes to dealing out damage with Andy. He can go toe-to-toe with zoners as well with his own projectiles or with Kuhadan. Be careful with your specials though. I don't know if I made this clear enough, but reversals will find you if you throw them out recklessly. Fighting Andy presents you with two objectives. First, you need to keep a close eye on the little fly, as he'll be bouncing around and dashing at a breakneck pace. Try your best not to jump the gun on any anti-air specials, as he can drop from the sky before you can get it out. Second is that you need to try and keep him specifically at mid-range. Don't try to zone him out, he can handle that, and don't let him get in close either, as his normals are faster than most of the KOF cast. But at mid-range, what's he gonna do, swing at the air with his not-so-far normals? Throw out a special you can punish? If you got a character that excels with controlling the middle area, you will be a nightmare for Andy players. And that does it for Mai's boyfriend. If you like this guide or found it helpful, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, let me know if I missed anything in the comments, sorry Terry, and I will see you guys tomorrow with the final character in Team Fatal Fury.
All eyes are on the winner of that fierce fight! Winner!
次に君と戦う日を楽しみにしているよ。それじゃあ